building community-based apps for sports teams, TV shows, movie franchises, whatever people could gather around and talk about. And we launched this game called Kings of Camelot, which was sort of our first sort of entry into core gaming. And then at that point, we were primarily a Facebook game developer. That's where our background was in. We did a lot of web product development. We knew how to sort of tap into Facebook viral channels. So leveraging that knowledge and also taking into some best practices in terms of monetization that we were slowly starting to learn from Asian free-to-play gaming companies and so forth. We built a lot of that stuff into Kings of Camelot, and we ended up becoming one of the top core strategy game developers on Facebook for a good year and a half or so. But like a lot of you guys know that, if you guys have worked on Facebook, the platform itself changed a lot since it first opened up in 2007. There was sort of this Wild West period where you could, make your game and have your users post whatever messages or invites and all that kind of stuff. And everyone probably saw a lot of these apps that are just skyrocketing traffic volume. Facebook started limiting what you can do with those viral channels, so that had a huge impact on the user acquisition side of things. But I think the biggest thing that really made us sort of rethink sort of our platform strategy was sort of the introduction of Facebook credits. For the longest time, we were able to grow our business by generating, making Kings of Camelot into a highly monetizing game where we would just really keep our players engaged for a long time and continue to monetize off those players. But once Facebook introduced Facebook credits, they were taking 30 cents on the dollar. It was having a huge impact on sort of how we think about our sort of our financials. So started looking at that, but we also realized that Facebook wasn't the only place that people were spending their time. It was actually just a very, very small slice of a channel where we can acquire and keep players engaged. There was this whole other side of the online space, called the world, the web, where we knew there was a ton of different channels and opportunities where we could acquire users and find users that maybe necessarily didn't want to play games on Facebook, but they were interested in playing our type of games, but they just didn't want to play through Facebook. And we were able to sort of successfully make that pivot by launching our own gaming portal called Kabam.com, and that started off the sort of next sort of phase of our company where we started expanding out from just Facebook to going on to Kabam.com and all these other gaming sites like Contagion and so forth. And then this whole mobile explosion started happening. We saw this trend happening where we saw, basically player engagement started like shifting towards more on mobile. So I think, to be quite honest, I think if you ask anyone at Kabam, I think if you had to do things, all over again, we probably would have decided to have jumped into mobile a lot earlier. But we were still able to sort of see the trend that was happening, that players and gamers were spending, were starting to shift their time towards mobile. So we ended up just quickly hustling. We ended up taking our top franchise, Kings of Camelot, to the iOS, which was just launched last March. So I think just a month ago was our sort of 1-year anniversary of our first mobile product launch. A ton of learnings. But I think that just shows sort of our ability to sort of identify where the players are going, where their time was being spent. And I think now we're constantly sort of stay ahead of where the next sort of shift might happen. I think there's a lot of theories that are coming up, but we're sort of trying to make sure that, through research and by trying to stay ahead of industry trends, that we'll be well positioned for that.
So having experience in both Facebook and social and mobile, you can see the differences in the way players interact, especially the way they monetize.
Yep.
And it seems like a lot of studios take what they learned from Facebook and just simply reapply it to mobile. But do you see any unique differences in the way that monetization specifically behaves between Facebook and mobile?
Oh yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I think when we first launched our mobile products, because we came from a very, very web product development background, mobile was a whole different piece in terms of how you sort of think about user experience, and then also the payment sort of strategies as well too. I remember when we first launched a mobile product, we were actually sort of surprised by like the payment conversion rate on the iOS, and it naturally makes sense. If you guys have played any of the iOS products, sort of payment flow actually is a lot easier if if you haven't already had an iTunes account. So that kind of stuff actually sort of let us sort of rethink about how we wanted to optimize the user experience so that players can continue to sort of stay really engaged with their games, but also get a lot of value out of the payments that they were making. But I think this is something that we're still learning today in terms of sort of how to sort of optimize even sort of velocity of changes that we make to the product. In the web world, we were able to make changes on the fly whenever we wanted to.
Without risk submitting to the store.
Exactly, but now it's sort of more of a client download model where if you want to push out a major update, the user has to download a client to be able to get access to new content. So we're constantly sort of trying to figure out the best way to sort of optimize that experience.
So Kingdom of Camelot and The Hobbit have been tearing up the charts. Strategically, do you see it better to focus on currently successful IP and continue to expand those universes? Or how much resources do you develop towards new and emerging IP?
Yeah.
Where's the split? How do you determine where to put the resources?
Yeah, so my view on sort of the ideal portfolio strategy is first and foremost, we put a lot of value in our franchises. So Kings of Camelot, I think sometime early last year passed the $100 million gross revenue mark, which puts it one of the top 10 strategy games of all time. With Kings of Camelot on iOS, we were able to eclipse that. I think recently we just announced it was close to 200 million or higher with both those games. So that's a very, very valuable franchise for us. It has a lot of equity behind it. But we also have Dragons of Atlantis. It's another one of the key franchises. So we put a lot of sort of focus on trying to keep sort of growing those key franchises because we know it has a lot of IP equity value. But at the same time, we know like big brands like The Hobbit attracts a huge different segment of consumers that have probably never played our type of games. So from trying to get more users into the Kabam network, and they like those IPs like The Hobbit, The Godfather, and one of the newest IPs that we just recently announced, the Fast and Furious. We know like those kind of IPs are going to help bring different demographic users as we continue to grow. And then at the same time, we need to continue to create new IPs, and those always have a high risk profile because you just never know which IPs are really going to resonate. We do a lot of qualitative and quantitative research to sort of try to give ourselves the best shot at launching the next big hit IP. But it's a very hit-driven business, so we continue to try to sort of make some bets in terms of coming out with the next big franchise. So we try to sort of segment, sort of split our portfolio into 3 different areas so that we can continue to grow our existing and then acquire new users, but also invest in